Hey everyone, welcome to Judging for the Win. I'm Dave, and this is my daily ruling. Today's question was suggested by a viewer, thanks to Alyssa for this one. Amy activates Shigeki and reveals a forest and a Bloodghast. If she puts the forest into play, does that mean that she can return the Bloodghast to the battlefield? Okay, so the first thing that we need to remember for this question is this important fact about how triggered abilities work. Immediately after anything happens in the game checks to see if what just happened matches the trigger condition of any triggered abilities. So let's take a look at exactly what happened in some more detail. Immediately after Amy puts the forest onto the battlefield, the game checks to see if any triggered abilities trigger. If the Bloodghast was in the graveyard at this time, then that would mean that it should trigger from the forest entering. This is where the second important piece of information that we're going to need comes in. When you're resolving a spell or ability, different sentences or clauses signify discrete steps. Don't worry, it's not April Fool's Day. I'm not about to try and turn the channel into grammar for the win on you. A clause is just a verb, an action word, plus all the other words that go along with it. This leads us to the following important lemma. If you see more than one verb, then generally that means that the actions are taking place in a definite sequence. Whereas if you see only one, then the action is all happening simultaneously, even if multiple game objects are involved. Well, that was pretty abstract. Let's try to make things a little bit more concrete by applying that information to the situation from the original problem statement. We can see that Shigeki says you put a land from among them onto the battlefield, and then again you put the rest into your graveyard. Because we see the verb put used twice, then that means that these two actions happen in a sequence, one after the other. Why is this important? Because each action in that sequence is its own separate game event. And after every game event, the game checks to see if any triggered abilities have triggered. This means that immediately after the forest gets put onto the battlefield, that's before the Bloodghast has been put into your graveyard. And so at that point, the game is checking to see if anything cares about a land entering the battlefield, and Bloodghast isn't yet in the graveyard to be able to raise its hand and say yes. Now let's take a look at this card here, Animal Magnetism. Notice anything interesting? That's right, this card has a slightly different template. It only uses one verb, so that means that all of the cards get put into the appropriate zone at the same time. This is all part of the same game event, not a discrete sequence of steps. And accordingly, the game checks to see if this event caused any triggered abilities to trigger, and the Bloodghast will be in the graveyard at the time when that happens, the exact opposite of what we had last time. This means that if your opponent puts a Dryad Arbor, which is both a land and a creature, onto the battlefield, and a Bloodghast into your graveyard with Animal Magnetism, then you would get the Bloodghast back. On the one hand, I think that it's pretty cool that the rules are so exact, so precise, that differences like this can hang on the presence or absence of a single word, a difference almost nobody would expect to be significant. On the other hand, I kind of feel bad for anybody who's playing Magic in another language. I have a sneaking suspicion that Magic's translation team are probably among those who might not realize just how important that second instance of the verb is. The same ruling is going to apply no matter what language your cards are in, but it might not make as much sense unless you look at the English version. I'd be very interested to hear from my viewers who play in other languages whether your cards preserve this change in wording that we see. But that's all I have for you today. How did you do? Join me again next time for another daily ruling, but until then, I hope you have a great day.